Hi there, everyone. Welcome to The Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's the 5th of April. It's decision time in the garden. What will your projects be this year? Often we have no idea if our dreams for our gardens will come true. Gardeners may dream bigger dreams than emperors, but we can often get stuck too. We put plants in the wrong spot. We buy the wrong thing. We buy the wrong plant. We overdo. We stop short. But every now and then, we get it completely right. I waited for years to put paths in around my front garden. Why did I wait so long? No reason, really. But once they were in, I knew it was right. It was the perfect thing my garden had been missing. Whatever you're dreaming of in planning for your garden this season, I hope you get it completely right. For today's Brevities, on this day in 1847, Birkenhead Park opened to great rejoicing and festivity, and in the evening, there was a gorgeous display of fireworks. That day in Birkenhead was observed as a holiday, and the workmen at the Birkenhead Docks, 2,000 in number, each received a day's wage. Later in the evening, a ball and supper took place in the dock warehouse. Designed by Joseph Paxton, Birkenhead was the first publicly funded civic park, and it inspired New York's Central Park. The day of the grand opening, Lord Viscount Morpeth gave the commemorating speech, gushing, "We have seen something this day beyond even the dreams of Venice." See, there's that big dreaming again. In a few weeks, on April 23rd of this year, there will be a presentation hosted in conjunction with the Friends at Birkenhead Park. For over 2 years, plans have been developed to secure Birkenhead Park's listing as a World Heritage Site. The presenters for this event include Professor Robert Lee of the University of Liverpool's Department of History. Happy birthday today to the German botanist and early evolutionist Matthias Jacob Schleiden. Schleiden was the co-founder of cell theory, and he was the first person to recognize the importance of cells in plants. It was Matthias Schleiden who said, "Youthful fancy lends to the rock, the tree, the flower, an animating genius. And in the thunder, hears the voice of God. Then comes earnest science, stripping nature of that inspiring charm and substituting the unvarying law of blind necessity." The poet Algernon Swinburne was born on this day in 1837. In his poem, A Forsaken Garden, he describes a garden, or rather the ghost of a garden. At the beginning of the show, we talked about the dreams we have for our gardens. In this poem, the dreamer of the garden has left, and the garden has become a nightmare, all too familiar. Although the sun still shines and the rain still falls, the beds in the garden are blossomless. There's only brushwood and thorn, branches and briars cover the paths. Even the weeds are dead. Here are a few verses from A Forsaken Garden. In a coign of the cliff between lowland and highland, at the sea down's edge between windward and lee, walled round with rocks as an inland island, the ghost of a garden fronts the sea. A girdle of brushwood and thorn encloses the steep, square slope of the blossomless bed, where the weeds that grew green from the graves of its roses now lie dead. The fields fall southward, abrupt and broken, to the low last edge of the long, lone land. If a step should sound or a word be spoken, would a ghost not rise at the strange guest's hand? So long have the gray bear walks lain guestless through the branches and briars. If a man make way, he shall find no life but the sea winds, restless night and day. The thorns he spares when the rose is taken, the rocks are left when he wastes the plain. The wind that wanders, the weeds wind shaken, these remain. Not a flower to be pressed of the foot that falls not. Is the heart of a dead man, the seed plots are dry. From the thicket of thorns whence the nightingale calls not, could she call? There were never a rose to reply. The sun burns sere and the rain dishevels one gaunt, bleak blossom of scentless breath. Only the wind here hovers and revels in a round where life seems barren as death. Here there was laughing of old, there was weeping, haply of lovers none will ever know, whose eyes went seaward 100 sleeping years ago. In honor of the anniversary of the opening of Birkenhead Park, designed by the great Joseph Paxton, today's book recommendation is The Busiest Man in England, A Life of Joseph Paxton, Gardener, Architect, and Victorian Visionary by Kate Colquhoun. Paxton was, by all accounts, a genius, and it was Charles Dickens who dubbed him the busiest man in England. For today's garden chore, it's another Photo Friday in the garden. Today, take wide-angle shots of your garden. Get the vistas from the windows of your house, from the approach of the street, from your neighbor's house, from the corners of your property. I like to end the show with something sweet. Here's a story to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Edward Kemp, the landscape gardener and architect at Birkenhead, placed an ad in the Liverpool Mercury after the opening of Birkenhead. He was out of work and he was offering his services. Here's what it said. Edward Kemp begs to offer his services to the noblemen and gentlemen in the vicinity of Birkenhead and Liverpool. The fluttering testimonials which he has received from the numberless visitors to the Birkenhead Park induce him to believe that a simple reference to the past and present condition of the park will be sufficient to ensure for him a large and liberal patronage. Well, he must have found something, because Edward Kemp went on to be a leading Victorian landscape gardener in his own right. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org. And be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great weekend in the garden, and we'll see you Monday.